Let's call to order the special called board meeting on the FY24 budget adoption. I will ask our board secretary if this has been posted. Yes. It has been posted. Thank you very much. We will open by standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will now ask for approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
All in favor? Thank you very much.
Aye.
What's that?
Dr. Hoskins Brown.
Oh, Dr. Brown, okay. Board of Education matters? I'm sorry, oh, none? Oh, thank you. I'll, okay. Motion to approve the consent agenda? Second? Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Can there be any questions?
Aye.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, discussion on the consent, I'm so sorry. Yes.
I'd
Ms.
like
Hall.
a little more understanding on the memorandum of consent of understanding with the county. How was it determined which counselors will participate in this program and that kind of thing? Mr. Hediger, do you have any information?
Yes, ma'am. As I understand it, I'll continue to give you a little bit of information on that. Thank you very much. So the memorandum of understanding, which is in the consent agenda for the board's review and consideration of approval, is something that has come about with the district's engagement with some of our partners, particularly in the Chatham Narcotics team, who has been very much involved with the district in some of the public forums that we've done, and their shared goals in overcoming substance abuse issues across the county. They understand that there is a relative connection to how it impacts our youth. And beyond that, some of the things that our youth that we see in destructive behaviors. So they did have a pool of monies, and as we engaged with them, they understood that there was a need that we saw for staff development that allowed our school counselors to get greater certification and hone their skills in the work that they do to provide services for our students in the realm of school counseling. And that aligned directly with some of the goals in Chatham County, particularly in the Chatham County blueprint. So they were willing to take some of the dollars that they have available, it's $25,000 a year, to support that staff development endeavor, which would provide licensed professional counselors, LPCs, certification for our staff. Now, the amount that we had was in some ways determined by the valuation of dollars that were available. We did feel that those that would be identified from a cluster section of serving a large group across the county, that 6 would be a great way to start with that. So that's how the number came about. We're very excited in this partnership, and particularly in how it really echoes the intergovernmental supports and aligned goals across the county where we see with some of our partners. Ms. Ball-Oliver was deeply involved in the work that we did as well, and as her functional area with the school counselors reporting into the Academic Affairs Division, may be able to share a little bit more about any specific technical question on identifying those individuals that would receive that. But the overarching piece of that is we have monies that would be available through the county to support staff development for school counselors to hone their skills and really focus on providing greater supports for students that may be making destructive behaviors or making bad choices to take them down a road that might lead to substance abuse or harm or ideations of that nature.
Okay, so Mrs. McGuire and her staff have been
Deeply
with
involved.
this?
Yes,
Yep.
she does have a rubric and a process to look at those counselors, and they have to agree to provide so many hours of service in our wellness center to students and to families as a part of the participation rubric.
Okay. Thank you.
If
Ms.
I
Grabowski.
recall reading in the MOU that service in the Wellness Center would be outside of typical school hours, which is the community benefit partnership that Chatham County is offering, so that we're working collaboratively outside of standard school hours and providing these services to students. Is that correct?
Yes, we set a maximum of 10 hours so that it doesn't interfere with their regular work schedule.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll call question. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next, under fiscal responsibility and resource stewardship. Mr. Jackson.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
The first item is approval of bid 23-51, Tenet T380, autonomous mobile robotic floor scrubber. One-time purchase, and it's a ratification of this award. The purchasing department received 3 bids in response to bid C23-51 for the T380 autonomous mobile robotic floor scrubber. The purchase of this robotic floor scrubbers addresses labor shortages and challenges and will assist the maintenance and operations department with maintaining clean, healthy, and safe environments for students and maintaining a higher standard of cleaning in the schools. The floor scrubbers are designed to work efficiently with staff and will allow for reallocation of custodial staff to focus on other high-risk areas at the school. Just a side note, if you've been in a Walmart or Sam's lately, you may have seen some of these scrubbers going around the aisle. Staff recommends and seeks approval of the ratification of the award to paper chemical company Supply at the cost of $1,467,440 to be funded by ESSER grant funds. A ratification supports critical timing of needs that account for supply chain concerns, production, delivery, and programming to ensure equipment is functioning at the start of the 2023-24 school year. The funding source again would be ESSER 2, actually CARES Act 2. Thus, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the board approve the ratification award for bid 23-51 for 20 Tenet T380 autonomous mobile robotic floor scrubbers at the cost of $1,467,440 to be funded by ESSER grant funds.
Ms. Hall?
I move that we accept this proposal as read by Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Any second? Second by Dr. Howard Hall. Discussion.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
I have a question for Ms. Miller-Kegler.
Yes, ma'am.
Are these robotic structures something that our custodians ride, or are they autonomous and just like a vacuum at your house that just automatically cleans the floor?
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity and the question. They are actually programmable. We can program them based on the size of the specific area that they will be assigned to cleaning. We actually had a demonstration over at Jenkins High School, because that's one of the larger, newer facilities. So we actually had an opportunity to see how it's programmable and how it actually functions in an area. So if for any reason there is a human that comes in close contact with it, it knows to stop. It is very automated. It's something that you're seeing in larger areas like Mr. Jackson talked about in retail, and it helps us as we continue to have that staff shortage in our custodial area.
So that long hallway at Jenkins that you would go, say, down to the cafeteria.
Exactly. We
It
will
would just
program
be
it
there
based on that particular
Okay.
area.
Did we not at some point entertain some sort of cleaning robot where the custodian had to actually mount it? And I had heard that there were some compliance issues about that.
Exactly. So, and we did not move forward with that
Oh.
initial consideration, but the technology has improved. We've talked with some of our colleagues in other school districts, and again, we actually had a couple of the vendors come down and demonstrate their product.
Okay. So training is going to take place so that we're
Oh,
spending this $1 million on something that we're going to actually
Yes,
use
ma'am.
and-
Because some of the head custodians had an opportunity to attend the demonstrations, and there was some feedback and input from that team as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? I will call the question. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Okay, the final item is the final adoption of the physical.
Sorry?
Dr. Hodges-Brown didn't oppose, but she
No, she didn't oppose.
delayed aye.
Late aye.
Okay, the final action is the final adoption of the fiscal year 2024 budget for all funds. In accordance with law and policy, staff presents the fiscal year 2024 budget for all funds. This budget consists of 5 components: the general fund budget, general obligation debt budget, special revenue funds budget, capital projects budget, and other funds budget. The final budget under consideration reflects anticipated revenues based on a pending no mill increase or decrease for a total combined millage of 17.631 mills, 17.631 mills for maintenance and operations, and 0 mill for general obligation debt. General fund budget. The fiscal year 2024 general fund budget expenditures and other uses total $567,374,980. The budget will receive $373,905,895 in revenues from local revenues, $183,943,989 in state revenues, $3,210,476 in federal revenues, and a contribution from fund balance in the amount of $6,314,620. The estimated ad valorem tax millage rate for the calendar year 2023 is 17.631 mills. The ad valorem tax revenues were calculated using an estimated adjusted net M&O digest of $20,168,497,333 for calendar year 2023. The general obligation debt budget, the fiscal year 2024 general obligation debt budgeted expenditures total $250,000. This amount is duplicated below in the debt service fund budget and in other funds section. The estimated ad valorem tax millage rate for calendar year 2023 is 0. The ad valorem tax revenues were calculated using an estimated net bond digest of $698,357,469 for calendar year 2023. Special revenue funds budget. The fiscal year 2024 special revenue funds budgeted in expenditures and other uses total $175,662,262. The following budgets are included in the chart as follows. Other funds budget. The fiscal year 2024 other funds budgeted expenditures total $3,824,372. The budgets that make up the other funds budget are included in the chart below. Capital projects funds, the fiscal year 2024 capital projects funds budgeted expenditures total $91,889,275. This budget is based upon estimated costs to be incurred between July 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2024 for approved projects. Thus, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the board adopt the following final budgets for fiscal year 2024. General fund budgets for $567,374,980. General obligation debt budget in the amount of $0. Special revenue funds budget in the amount of $175,862,262. Other funds budget in the amount of $3,824,372, which includes the general obligation debt amount, and the capital projects funds budget in the amount of $91,889,275.
I'll accept a motion to approve this budget.
Motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 budget, all funds.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. I know we have some people here to speak on the budget, so I will ask first Ms. Beth Maggioroni. Yeah, that's before you vote.
Good evening. I am Beth Maggioroni and am speaking as a taxpayer and a retired teacher. At the tentative vote on the proposed FY24 budget, which was held on June 7th at the regular board meeting, both the school board president, Mr. Moss, and the school board rep, Michael Johnson, who was also chair of the budget committee, voted against the approximate $836 million proposed fiscal year 24 budget. This should be a red flag to the community. The FY24 proposed budget is 8% higher than last year's FY23 budget of $775 million. The school board blames the increase primarily on a medical rate increase of approximately $14 million, but that constitutes only a 2% increase of last year's total budget. The school board also claims this exorbitant increase in budget occurred due to a cost of living increase for all staff and teachers, but it only increases last year's budget by 2%. Finally, the board also blames this excessive budget increase on the English language arts budget, to which they only allotted a 1% increase over last year's budget. While these items in aggregate do add up to an increased total of 5% over the fiscal year 23 budget, what is very alarming is that there is only a minimal cut to last year's budget, equating to a meager 1%. From household to corporate budgets, we all understand that to purchase more, we have to cut somewhere. Mr. Moss noted at a recent regular school board meeting that there would need to be some hard cuts made in order to appropriate language arts funding and staff raises. I see no meaningful cuts. This excessive budget that maintains the status quo and then adds on to it must not be approved as is. Cuts must be made, and I want to suggest the most obvious area for those budget cuts. According to the Center for Educational Statistics under the Department of Education, between 2000 and 2019, the number of students increased 7.5%. The number of teachers increased 8.9%, and the number of administrative positions increased 90%. Savannah-Chatham County, under Superintendent Levette's leadership, mirrors this trend, as it has become very top-heavy in administrative positions at 208 Bull Street. Change happens at the school building level, not at 208 Bull Street. On behalf of the Chatham County taxpayers, I'm asking the school board to vote no on approving this proposed budget. Instead, the board needs to cut positions at 208 Bull Street to reduce the budget so that the millage rate can be rolled back, thus not increasing our property taxes by 10%. My request to all Chatham County taxpayers is to watch which school board members vote yes for this budget tonight, and when they come up for
Thank
re-election,
you.
whether it's next spring or the following
Thank you. You're
year,
out of time.
vote them out.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got copies.
Thank you. Maggie Miller?
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I'm Maggie Miller. I'm here on behalf of Migrant Equity Southeast, and I am prepared to talk a little bit about our requests for more translation services in the Savannah-Chatham County Public schools. But we received an email from you all today saying that you were expanding your positions and providing more translation assistance for the families and staff at the schools, and I just wanted to say that I appreciate all that you've done. There's not much more that I have to say other than we are excited to keep working with you, and we appreciate that you've heard us and that you've continued to work with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, now discussion. Anyone? Ms. Hall and then Ms. Grabowski.
I want to be very careful with my comments. I will be voting for this, and I come up for election next year. The children who we teach today are not the children we were back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. They have a very different dynamic, and their needs are very different from what our needs were then. Public education in this country pretty much has to take care of the total socialization of 60 to 70% of our children. By that I mean their moral, physical, mental, emotional well-being. We're not just in a classroom now to teach the 3 R's, geography, social studies, and to try to build the intellectual capacities of our students. Our work goes far beyond that. We are not getting the help from our communities that we need, that we used to get. The faith community is not helping us in terms of the behavior of many of our students in school and their parents. They bring chaos to the learning environment, and our teachers who are there to teach the 3 R's in geography and the basics of education are not able to spend their time doing that because they have to spend so much time addressing the social ills that our children bring with them. The faith community, the civic community, is not stepping up to talk about democracy and institutions that our public education is founded on. Therefore, we need more and more personnel, we need more and more programs, we need more and more approaches, and that costs money. So I'm sending a challenge out to all of my friends in the community to step up with ideas as opposed to criticisms and help us deal with the chaos that our learning environments have to endure now that we did not endure when you were a child in school. And so many people still think of school as how it was when they went to school. And that's not the condition that our schools and our teachers and our principals have to face now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Grabowski.
My question is, I guess, for Ms. Cooley or Mr. Jackson, or maybe Mr. Ray, on the longevity increases for those employees that have maxed out. It says this is a one-time, but it's also a 2.5% increase. So is it a lump sum that is not embedded in the salary? Is that the way it's structured?
Yes, it doesn't change the salary scale, so it's just a one-time. It's similar to what the county does. So it's just a one-time in that it's just going to happen this year, but it doesn't change the actual salary scale.
Okay. And then the competitive pay for the campus police officers, that would be a salary adjustment,
That would be, that's because that is just, it's already in our scale. They're just moving on our existing scale, which will move with the 5%, for example.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the work calendar adjustment for the JROTC, certainly appreciate that we want to compensate our instructors for the hours that they are putting in. I understand there are a lot of extra hours that go along with programs like JROTC. Have we evaluated other similar positions? I think, our band directors, our club directors, all of those other positions that put in those extra hours as well. Have we also evaluated if they are being adequately compensated for their additional efforts?
It's a good, let me say it this way, we've done something with academic supplements, we've done something with the band supplements that happen with the existing staff that are going into those areas, art, music, all those things have been adjusted, and we'll continue to look at adjusting them. As it relates to ROTC, there's a different competition because we were paying them basically for 11 months, and there are many school districts that pay them for 12 months. So it became a competition issue where we're not able to get them because they view us as an 11-month school district when they can go to other school districts that will pay them for 12 months. So that's kind of what we're doing, is being more competitive and not having that dividing line between looking at another school district and our school district as it relates to JROTC.
Okay, and I appreciate that we have to be competitive.
Yes.
Certainly with the large districts as well as with the smaller districts that surround us. So I think we've talked a lot about, and maybe starting next year and in future years, beginning our budget process a lot earlier, which it sounds like I think we're hopefully going to be doing. And I would really like for us to take a look at that, and for us as a board to have a better understanding of how those additional responsibilities of other teachers and staff are being compensated, just to make sure that we are being equitable to all of our employees across the district.
Yes, and that we'd be glad to provide that, because we did comparisons with other districts. So all those academic supplements, we actually have in a document that you'd be able to see how we've made that change and how we continue to look at what other districts are doing to make sure they are being paid competitively.
I know a lot of our teachers go above and beyond, so appreciate
Yes,
all the hard
absolutely.
work that they do. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Ms. Hall?
I'm sorry to be so talkative this evening, but I want to ask Mr. Ray, if I'm a custodian, say who I started working for us at 18 and I'm 25 years in now, I'm 43, and I'm at that 25th step, you're going to give me a one-time lump sum payment this year. But what happens to me next year when it's time for steps? What will happen then?
Well, there have been various years. Some years we've done it, some years we haven't. Every organization has a top of the scale, and so we do as well. And so it'll be something that we'll have to consider from year to year whether or not what we do at that point in time. We've done.
Why is there a reluctance to look at the scale? Why is it this piecemeal? What is it about the scale that's so sacred that we can't adjust the scale itself? We did, I know Dr. Levette, thank goodness, was able to change the scale. It used to be 20 years. Once you reach 20 years, you didn't get an increase. So she got it, we got it up to 25. What is so sacrosanct about the scale that it can't be adjusted?
It can be adjusted if that's the will of the board. If the board wants to direct us to do that, it can be adjusted. We're just doing common HR practices and common compensation practices with other districts. You'll see they top out. Other companies top out. There is a top, And if that's something that the board wants to change,
Well, part of what
That's up
you were saying, Ms. Grabowski, I think the more we look at comparative districts and see what's going on, that will help us as a board. But just to say, well, we're not going to do something because we haven't done it before, and that's our HR practice, I don't buy that. So yes, let's start earlier in September so that we have time to really look into these things, because part of our retention efforts are to keep the people who are experienced and trained and well-versed on our schools. That's something that's very close to the children, the care of our buildings. So I'm very concerned that we don't send out the message that you're good for us until you reach 25 years of service, and then, you know, you can go to the junk heap because we're not going to pay anymore. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. I was at the Georgia School Board Association convention a week ago, and they had a special session on reading, and it was led by the 2 board members and the superintendent of Marietta City Schools. And they said something very powerful. They said that your budget reflects your values. And what they did based on that is they decided that there were 2 things that they were going to really fund the following year, and that was literacy and safety. When we did our survey with the public, those were 2 things that the public wanted. I did an interview this morning, and the reporter asked me, so, you know, why should people come to board meetings and speak? Do you really listen? And my answer to them was, yes, we do. I believe we do. I have been listening for the last few weeks, and I've heard a lot. And one thing I didn't know until someone that I work out with at the Havisham Y said to me, he said, Roger, when you don't lower the millage rate, the people that suffer are renters. Because, yes, we are not, and I will say this again, I know we've all said it, we are not doing anything to the millage rate. We are leaving the millage rate where it is. However, based on values, not doing anything equates to an increase. And that's what I've learned. And that was a rude awakening for me. It's not only renters, it's people on fixed incomes. So I have a couple of questions. The first question is, did we run numbers using a rollback?
We ran calculations.
Mike, please.
We ran calculations looking at the full rollback. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that rollback loss of revenue would have been around, in excess of $30 million.
Okay.
It's very expensive. Unfortunately, because that the rate that the market, housing market went up, it went up tremendously. And it caused a large rollback, millage rollback amount to be calculated. So it was in the excess of $30 million to roll back.
Thank you very much. The other question that I have is, was there ever any consideration in scaffolding the 5% COLA and also the step increases? I mean, doing one group this year, one group the following year. Did we even consider that?
Not during the budget process, no, sir.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay.
I think important to remember, sir, too, that you do get those pressures, as we're all fully aware of, with the governor's budget adopted with the increases for teachers, and we all recognize that that's not free. There's a cost that comes with that. You have to pay for that. You're going to have benefits, a full package, part of that. But we have 3,000 certificated staff, but the rest of the 5,600, almost 6,000, are other staff as well, and we can't ignore that. So that 5% COLA that we were talking about really reflects a big part of that action in this budget. And of course, some of the other increases that we're talking about include the plan for the literacy as recommended by the Literacy Task Force, and what you have in front of you now is the adjustment for the campus police officers' pay to be competitive in this local job market.
Okay. So one thing that I did note, I'm going back to my first statement, budget reflects values. When I was looking at the budget, as far as the way that we listed our priorities, literacy was second. You know, and this is just me, and I respect the opinion of everyone sitting up here. And I am not saying, so let me just get this out there right now. Yes, I believe our teachers, I believe our staff need to be paid well. I got that. All right? Literacy is the number one thing right now. I would not have so many objections if the budget we had for our literacy was a bigger budget. I might vote for this. But what I saw was we're spending a lot of money on salaries and not enough money on literacy. So going back to the question I was asked this morning, do we hear the public? Yes, I've heard the public. And although we are not voting on that today, and for full disclosure, yes, I did vote for the millage rate in the tentative. I will not be voting for that. I think we can do better. I think we have got to learn how to cut. And I don't think that there are any sacred cows. And I think the public would feel a lot better. You know, the public is hurting. You know, yes, things are expensive for everybody. But I would like to give the public a break. I would like, because again, no, we are not raising the millage rate, but by doing nothing, we kind of are. So I will, again, be voting against this. And I believe that going forward, the process that we've all been talking about, starting earlier and having those discussions earlier, I think we will see better budgets. Thank you. Dr. Brinkman.
So I was going to remain silent this evening, but I guess I will ask us all if we can do better. Yes, we can do better. Somehow the only time this board has heard concerns about this budget and people not wanting some of the things in this budget and wanting things cut were at the tentative adoption and now at the adoption. I can't remember at any of our budget workshops people saying, let's make meaningful cuts at 208 let's reduce this, let's cut that. And it just doesn't make sense to me that we wait until literally the 9th hour to make all these comments and to ask if the budget was even tabulated with the rollback. Those should be questions that were asked months ago, and we can do better. We should do better. Some of us are okay with how things have gone. I wish that our budget committee chair would have a budget meeting every month with a topic. Start in September, meaningful cuts. October, security. I don't know, but we need to have conversations where the people that aren't comfortable with the way the budget is being proposed speak out loud, ask the questions before 6:07 on the day that we're going to vote on the budget, probably before 6:15. It just doesn't help create any change in the budget if we wait until the last minute to ask questions about the budget.
Anyone else? Ms. Hall.
Mr. Hediger, at some point last year, it seemed like you produced for us the millage rate for comparative districts in this state. Would you be able to secure that for us again, not for tonight's reasoning, but not only that, but that Ms. Jennings makes sure that that gets into the Savannah Morning News, that it gets online on our website, so that everyone is able to see where our millage rate is in comparison to other counties in this state, and even in, say, let's say the belt, South Carolina, and areas of that side. Please see that that happens.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. We have to do that. In fact, the budgeting department has some of that information readily available, and we'll remind. And we did do a fact sheet this season as well for the budget that was circulated. It's on our website, readily available. And then there is a mention in there that our district, as one of the top 10 districts in the state of Georgia, is lower than competitive or comparative districts of our size and demographic across the state. And what we're seeing with remaining flat at 17.631, of course, we're not adopting the millage rate tonight. This budget is built on anticipated revenues that would be expected on the final adoption of the millage rate, remaining flat. That remains lower than comparative districts across the state of Georgia.
Dr. Howard Hall.
Yes, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the downward trend of our millage. In 2018, it was 18.881 mills. 2019, 18.881. 2020, 18.81 mills. 2021, 18.131 mills. 2022, 18.131. 2022, 17.61 mills. So with a district our size, is it common, if you compare it to other districts, is it common to trend downward with millage rates? Because from looking at the data as of 2018 until now, the trend is downward, although it remains the same compared to last year and this year.
You're correct. If you look at districts our size around the state, especially around the metro Atlanta area, most of those districts have not reduced their millage rates in at least the last 20 years, if not longer. It's been the same at least the last 20 years, so that's very uncommon for a school district our size to reduce its millage rate.
So, Mr. Jackson, what will happen in the event that we continue to trend downward, then there's a shift with the economy? Could you explain that to the public?
If there's a shift, which we have received or been a part of in past years, if there's a shift that comes upon us, then there would be a time where we would have to increase the millage rate to continue successful operations of the district. We would have to increase the millage rate at some point. We've been fortunate that there haven't been a recession or any downward trend yet in the economy, but most people feel that that day will come soon.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. And thank you for getting that information on the other districts. You know, I will say this, you know, there are facts, there are emotions, and, you know, when I'm dealing with people, I have to look at both. And the emotions I've heard from some people about those who are fixed income and renters, they really don't care what the millage rate is in other cities. They only know that their taxes are going up, and because their taxes are going up, they're going to have to charge tenants more money. And we're in an era where we're talking about affordable housing, and I'm just asking for us all, I guess, to share the suffering. But that's all. Okay, so any other comments? All right. Yes.
I wasn't going to, but that our teachers, our staff, many of them are also renters. So how can we not address the need for their cost of living increases? I do think people may not care what the millage rate is in other districts, but the reality is that our funding formula is complex. And a portion is paid from federal funds, a portion is paid from state funds, but a large portion is paid from local funds. And our job as a board is to educate the community on the complexities of our system, of the mandates that we are required to meet and fund, of the changes that are made at the state level that we have to fund, of the 38% of our positions that we don't receive state funding for, but we have to fund. So while people might like to make it simple sound bites, it is a much more complex decision than that. And I think it's imperative that as board members, we share that information with our community. And we recognize that, yes, people are listed number one in the superintendent's memo. That's our largest expense. That's our largest investment. And it's the people that are implementing the literacy plan. So I appreciate that we put people at the top of that list. I absolutely want literacy to be a top priority for our district. But in order to do that, we have to take care of our people. And I don't know any other way to do it. If there's opportunities to make cuts, I'm all for it. I pay taxes too. Would love to see us make some cuts. But I don't want us to make cuts simply to be politically popular and make cuts for the sake of making cuts without fully understanding the ramifications of what those cuts mean and the complexities of our budget. So I'm grateful that we're going to start this process much earlier so that we can have those robust conversations that we need to have and not be here, as Dr. Brinkman said, at the 11th hour, talking about things that we really haven't discussed until now. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Howard Hall.
I just need to, the millage rate, I said 18.81, it was 18.881. I just want to clarify that on the record.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. And to clarify, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, what I'm speaking today has nothing to do with sound bites. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with people. Yes, I care deeply about our teachers. Yes, we have to take care of our teachers. What I'm saying is, and I think we all can agree because we've all said we need to get ahead of this process a lot earlier next year. What I'm saying is what we have here, for me, you know, not me candidate, me Roger Moss, me human being, me that cares as deep as any of you about teachers, about the public, about our kids, about our taxpayers. This is me. Because let me tell you something, there are just as many people who are probably cussing my name right now. But that's okay. I will defend each of you for your views. I will never accuse you of doing sound bites, of playing politics, but we have to respect each other's views. So I'll call the question. All in favor of the proposed budget, signify by raising your hand. Dr. Hoskins?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Those opposed? Thank you. Yes. Okay, I will now accept motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded?
One second. I'm sorry. I just want to say this before we close. To the migrant equity campaign, I would like to sincerely thank you for bringing this issue to the board and giving us the opportunity to correct it. We're excited. I'm excited about moving forward and meeting the needs of our students, all inclusively. Thank you.
All right, so moved and seconded. All in favor to adjourn? Thank you very much.
Aye.
I'm sorry. God.